Hey, this is going to be your week 2 Tuesday video for your assignment. So if you have not watched the video for Monday, then go ahead and watch that one before you come and watch this one. So yesterday we worked on converting those decimals to fractions to help us multiply our fractions together. So today we're going to build on that, and we're going to be multiplying two decimal numbers. So we're going to be potentially multiplying two fractions together. But to start for our video today, I'm going to do a word problem so that I can show you something similar to what was on your assignment yesterday. So your word problem today says, an adult female gorilla is 1.4 meters tall when standing upright. Her daughter is 3/10 as tall. How much more will the young gorilla need to grow before she is as tall as her mother? All right. So in the end, you're going to see that this is a two-part question, because we got to figure out in the end how much more she has to grow. All right. So let's go ahead and pick out the pieces of information that we have been given. We know that the adult female gorilla is 1.4 meters tall. So let's go ahead and write that out. And we know since we're converting our decimals to fractions, we've got to convert that. And if you remember what we went over yesterday on Monday, then you know that 10/10 has created a whole. So we already know that we've got 10/10 here. We've got 4/10 left, so when we add those together, we've got a total of 14/10. So I'm going to go ahead and write that fraction out as 14/10. So great, we've got that done. Now the second piece of information we've gotten is that her daughter is 3/10 as tall. All right, so we know we're working with multiplication, so let's go ahead and place that symbol here and write out the fraction for 3/10, which is simply 3/10. Now, when we're multiplying, we've got to remember that we're multiplying across in our numerator and we're multiplying across in our denominator. So let's go ahead and work through the numerator. So we've got 14 times 3. If you can't do that mentally, then go ahead and write it down. 14 times 3. We first got 3 times 4, and that is 12. So I'm going to drop my 2 and carry that 1. So now we've got 3 times 1, which is 3, plus that last 1, which is 4. So we now know that 14 times 3 is 42. And 10 times 10, we've got 100. So we know that 14/10 times 3/10 is equal to 42 hundredths. Now, for the second part of this question, we've got to figure out how much she needs to grow. So we know that the adult, or her mother, is 1.4 meters, and she is only 42 hundredths of a meter. So this is also where you've got to focus on your decimal placement. You've got to focus on your decimal placement. All right. So we know that this is our 10th place. This is our 10th place. When we look at 42 hundredths, we know that it's going to end in the hundredths place. It's going to end in the hundredths place. So I'm going to drop my decimal point and write in 42. And I know that I've done it right because my 2 is in the hundredths place, which is 2 place values after our decimal. Okay? And now, whenever we have an empty space, I always fill it in with a 0. All right? So now we can go ahead and subtract. We know we can't do 0 minus 2. So I've got to go next door and borrow. So this 4 is going to be changed to a 3. And we've now got 10 minus 2, which is 8. Can we do 3 minus 4? No. So we've got to go next door once again and borrow. So now we've got 13 minus 4, which is 9. And we cannot forget that last step is to drop that decimal down. All right? So we know that the young gorilla needs to grow 98 hundredths of a meter before she'll be as tall as her mother. All right? So this was just an example of how to set the problems up as you had on your assignment yesterday. All right? So today we're going to move straight into multiplying with 2 decimals. All right? So let's go ahead and change 3 and 2 tenths. All right? So we know this would be 32 tenths, and we're multiplying that by 2 and 1 tenth, or 21 tenths. All right? So now, this is where you're going to have to start writing out your multiplication problems, because it's not just one number that you're multiplying by, it's 2 numbers that you're going to be multiplying by. All right? So in our numerator, we've got 32 and 21. So 32 times 21. Okay, we're going to start in the ones place. So we've got to multiply everything by 1. 1 times 2 is 2. And 1 times 3 is 3. All right? So we're finished with that 1. So we know that we've got to use our 0 as a placeholder, because we're now going to be multiplying with our 2 in the tens place. Okay, so 2 times 2 is 4. And 3 times 2 is 6. Are we done yet? No, we're not, because we've got to add all of these numbers up to get our answer. 2 plus 0 is 2. 3 plus 4 is 7. And 6 plus 0 is 6. All right, so we know that our numerator is equal to 672. All right, but now we've got to multiply the 2 numbers in our denominator. 10 times 10 is equal to 100. Okay, so we've got 672 hundredths. And if I wanted to write that as a decimal, all right, we know that 100 can go into 672 6 times without going over. So we've got our 6 and our decimal, which represents and. So we've got 6 and 72 hundredths left over. So this is how I would write my decimal from that answer. All right, let's go over one more. Here we've got 2 and 38 hundredths times 1 and 8 tenths. Okay, so let's go ahead and write that as a fraction. 2 and 38 hundredths. So we know we've got 238 hundredths. And we've got to multiply that by 1 and 8 tenths, or 18 tenths. All right? And this is even more complex. We're not doing 2 digit by 2 digit by 2 digit, sorry. We're now multiplying 3 digit by 2 digit. So we've got 238 times 18. All right. 8 times 8 is 64. So I'm going to drop my 4 and carry the 6. And 8 times 3 is 24 plus the 6, which is 30. So I'm going to drop the 0 and carry the 3. 8 times 2 is 16 plus 3, is 19. All right, so now that we're done with these numbers, I'm going to erase them so that you don't confuse yourself in the next step. All right, so we finished with our 8. So I'm going to once again use that 0 as a placeholder for our ones place. So now we're working with the tens place. So we've got to multiply everything by 1. 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 3 is 3. And 1 times 2 is 2. That last step, we need to add everything together. 4 plus 0 is 4. 0 plus 8 is 8. 9 plus 3 is 12. Drop that 2, carry the 1. And 2 plus 1 is 3, plus that last 1 is 4. So we know that 238 times 18 is equal to 4,284 over our two numbers in the denominator. 100 times 10 is equal to 1,000. And if you remember that trick, we've multiplied the ones with 1 times 1 we know is 1, and we've got 1, 2, and 3 zeros left over that we've added to that 1. So 2 and 38/100ths times 1 and 8/10ths is equal to 4,284 thousandths. And once again, if I wanted to write that as a decimal, we know that 1,000 can go into 4,284 4 times, and we've got 284 left over. So these are the problems that you're going to have on your assignment for today. Sorry about the dog.